Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're stepping back in time into the heart of the Roman Empire to uncover the story of its most famous and misunderstood figures. The gladiators. When you think of gladiators, you probably picture muscle-bound heroes, adored by the crowds, fighting for glory in magnificent arenas like the Colosseum. But the reality for most of them was far grimmer and far more complex. The vast majority of these fighters weren't volunteers seeking fame. They were slaves, prisoners of war, and condemned criminals, forced into a life of brutal combat. This story isn't just one of blood and sand. It's a tale of survival, desperation, and the unquenchable human thirst for freedom. So, join me as we look past the myths and discover the true lives of the forgotten heroes of ancient Rome, the slave gladiators. Before a slave ever set foot on the arena sand, their journey began in chains. Who were these individuals? Many were prisoners of war, captured from lands Rome had conquered. Imagine being a soldier, defending your homeland one day, and the next, you're shackled and marched hundreds of miles to a foreign land. Others were born into slavery, their fate sealed from their first breath. And then there were the Nazi criminals condemned to death, whose sentence was to be carried out in the arena for public spectacle. For these men and women, the path to the gladiator school, or ludus asterisk, was not a choice. It was a sentence. They were sold in slave markets, inspected like livestock. Strong, defiant, individuals who might cause trouble on a farm were often seen as perfect raw material for the arena. Their previous lives, their families, their skills, their identities were systematically erased. They were no longer a Gallic warrior or a Greek craftsman. They were property, an investment for a lanista asterisk, the owner of a gladiator school. This transformation from person to commodity was the first and most brutal step in their journey toward becoming a gladiator. Life inside the ludus asterisk was a paradox. On one hand, it was a prison. Gladiators lived in small, shared cells under constant guard. Their freedom was non-existent. Yet, on the other hand, they were valuable assets. A lanista asterisk invested a small fortune in his gladiators, so he had to keep them alive and in peak physical condition. Their diet was carefully managed, often high in carbohydrates like barley, which earned them the nickname horderi or barley men. This diet helped to build a layer of fat over their muscles, which could protect them from superficial cuts during combat, making for a more dramatic, bloodier fight without causing a fatal injury. They received top-tier medical care, far better than that available to the average Roman citizen. Doctors, like the famous Galen who started his career at a gladiator school, were experts in treating wounds and keeping their fighters healthy. The training was relentless and unforgiving. From dawn until dusk, they drilled. They learned to fight with a variety of weapons, specializing in a particular class like the secutor, the retiarius, or the murmelo. Each class had its own unique equipment and fighting style, creating compelling matchups for the crowd. This intense training forged them into disciplined killing machines, but it also forged something else. A brotherhood inside the grim walls of the ludus asterisk. These men from different corners of the world, who often didn't even speak the same language, formed powerful bonds. They were called collegia asterisk. They trained together, ate together, and faced death together. These brotherhoods were their new families. They would pool their meager earnings to ensure a fallen comrade received a proper burial and a memorial stone. Inscriptions on these tombstones give us a heart-wrenching glimpse into their world. They mention their victories, their fighting style, and often touching tributes from their fellow gladiators who mourn their loss. This sense of community was a crucial psychological lifeline. It was a shield against the dehumanizing nature of their existence. While the Roman public saw them as disposable objects of entertainment, within the collegia asterisk, they were respected brothers. This bond was a quiet act of rebellion, a way of holding on to their humanity in a world that sought to strip it away completely. They found dignity not in the cheers of the crowd, but in the respect of the men who stood beside them. Let's step into the arena. The day of the games, or Munera, was a massive public event. The city would grind to a halt. A grand procession. The Pampa would kick things off, with gladiators parading in elaborate armor before the emperor and the roaring crowd. The classic phrase, "We who are about to die," Salugi, is actually only recorded once in history, spoken by criminals condemned to a naval battle, not by gladiators. Most gladiators fully intended to survive. The fights themselves were not the chaotic free-for-all often depicted in movies. They were highly regulated matches, overseen by a referee. The goal wasn't always to kill. In fact, killing an experienced, well-trained gladiator was a huge financial loss for their owner. Fights often ended when one combatant was wounded and submitted, raising a finger to appeal for mercy. The final decision of life or death, known as Missio rested with the editor of the games, often the emperor, who would usually heed the crowd's sentiment. A thumbs-down gesture likely meant swords down or spare him, while a thumbs-up may have symbolized the drawn sword, meaning death. For a slave gladiator, every single match was a life-or-death gamble. Victory meant survival, a small prize money, and a tiny step closer to a distant dream. So, was there a way out? Could a slave gladiator ever win their freedom? The answer is yes, but the odds were stacked against them. The ultimate prize was the Rudy's asterisk, a wooden sword given to a gladiator who had demonstrated exceptional skill and longevity in the arena. Receiving the Rudy's asterisk symbolized their discharge from service. They were no longer compelled to fight. Some who earned their freedom simply walked away, trying to build a new life in the shadow of their violent past. However, many found they were only good at one thing: fighting. Some became highly sought-after trainers in the Ludi teaching the next generation of gladiators. Others, incredibly, chose to return to the arena as free men, fighting for prize money and fame under contract. The allure of the crowd's roar and the adrenaline of combat could be a powerful drug, but for every gladiator who won their freedom, countless others perished on the arena sand. The promise of the Rudy's was a powerful motivator, a sliver of hope that kept them fighting, but for most, it remained an unattainable dream. It was the ultimate prize in a game where the stakes were their very lives. The most famous gladiator of all, Spartacus, represents the ultimate fight for freedom. He wasn't just fighting for his own release, he was fighting to bring down the entire system of slavery. In 73 BC, Spartacus, a Thracian auxiliary soldier, sold into gladiatorial slavery, led an uprising of around 70 gladiators from a school in Capua. Armed initially with kitchen knives, they fought their way out and seized a convoy of gladiatorial weapons. What started as a small breakout quickly snowballed into a massive slave rebellion. Tens of thousands of runaway slaves flocked to his banner, forming a formidable army that defeated multiple Roman legions sent to crush them. For 2 years, Spartacus and his followers terrorized the Roman countryside, a living embodiment of Rome's greatest fear, a full-scale slave revolt. Spartacus's rebellion wasn't just a desperate bid for escape. It was a war against the Roman Republic itself. He proved that the property Rome exploited for entertainment could rise up and shake the very foundations of their empire. Though he was eventually defeated and his followers crucified along the Appian Way as a horrific warning, the legend of Spartacus endured. He became an eternal symbol of the oppressed fighting back against their masters. A testament to the fact that even in the most hopeless circumstances, the desire for freedom can never be completely extinguished. The world of the slave gladiator was a brutal one, defined by violence, exploitation, and a constant proximity to death. They were seen by Roman society as infames, disreputable, on the par with actors and prostitutes, yet, at the same time, they were idolized. Mosaics celebrated their victories, and children played with gladiator action figures. They were the rock stars and the outcasts of the ancient world, all rolled into one. Their lives were a testament to the contradictions of Roman civilization that produced beautiful art and complex law, yet based its entertainment on the life and death struggles of enslaved human beings. But when we look past the gore and the spectacle, we see a story of incredible resilience. These were individuals who, stripped of everything, found ways to create community, to maintain their dignity, and to fight, not just for the entertainment of a crowd, but for their very survival and the slim chance of one day tasting freedom. Their legacy is a powerful reminder of the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable hardship. They were not just entertainers. They were survivors, rebels, and in their own way, forgotten heroes. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the ancient world. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments below which part of the Gladiator story surprised you the most. Until next time, stay curious.